So, straightforward question. Do you want to be the next Conservative leader?
Well, yes, I will be joining the contest to be the next Conservative leader and Prime Minister to broaden the race. As you mentioned, there is a wide range of candidates out there, but there's a very narrow set of views on Brexit being discussed. And over the last few weeks, I have watched on discussing with colleagues in frustration that while there's a broad sweep of opinion in the country on how we move forward at this critical time, that is not being reflected in the contest at the moment.
So articulate the position that you are taking in all of this. We know that you're an advocate for a people's vote.
Well, what we've got to remember is where we are is we face a very stark and unwelcome choice. It is either no deal or revoke via a second referendum, possibly. But what most of the candidates are offering is to offer no deal and a fudge on Theresa May's deal, which has been heavily defeated. Now, Parliament is deadlocked. We all know that. We want to move forward, and we want to be able to bring the country together. And so that is why I think a final say on the Brexit deal is the way to achieve that. And for the Conservative Party, I think that what we need to be doing is to be putting the country first. What makes us successful is when we put the country first and we are pragmatic. And I will be the only candidate in the race offering this option, which is supported by a vast majority of people in the public, in order to take us forward.
But let's be honest about this, and I say this with respect and with gratitude that you've come on the programme to announce your candidacy. The Conservatives are never going to elect a People's Vote campaigner, are they?
Well, as I said, we face a stark and unwelcome choice. We've already had 2 extensions of Article 50. We've lost our 4th Prime Minister on the European issue. There have been 36 ministerial resignations. And I think as I go through the campaign and explain to people what the nature of the choice we face is, they would actually realize that if we want to govern in the interests of the country, this is an option that we have to consider seriously.
I mean, you've been explicit about where you believe things have gone wrong. I mean, you've spoken about the level of expectation raised in the British public, haven't you?
Well, as you know, I resigned my ministerial job. I didn't want to be an ex-minister at this time of my career because when I looked at Theresa May's deal, which, by the way, is the best deal on offer, I don't think there's another deal out there. But the stark reality about it is that we were giving up our voice, our vote, and our veto in return for best endeavours, which is why I resigned to oppose it. Now, the danger with where we are now, going to your question, is if we go through a contest that we don't honestly and robustly debate the options in front of us, but fudge it, we will get to October, ask for another extension, and that would stoke disillusion even further.
But let's be clear. I mean, whilst you may well represent a strand of opinion in the general public at large, I mean, there is a question about whether anyone within the Conservative Party will listen to you. 66% believe the UK should leave the European Union without a deal, which you would oppose. 84% oppose a second referendum when it's May's deal versus Remain. 80% oppose a second referendum with 3 options. I mean, are you entirely sure that this is the party that you want to lead?
I mean, the Conservative Party, when it's at its election-winning best, is pragmatic and it's sensible. Now, when I say that we should have a referendum, I would have a referendum in which there is no deal on the ballot paper, that there is Theresa May's deal, and there is a Remain option. Now, this would mean that everybody has their option on the ballot paper. A referendum doesn't automatically mean that the result of the 2016 referendum is overturned. The country could still say loudly again, and now that we know the terms of departure and what is negotiable, that it still wants to leave. The fact that we've got to confront is how do we move forward from this impasse? And at the moment, carrying on and doing more of the same when the maths hasn't changed in the House of Commons, when we've lost a Prime Minister, is not exactly the best way to serve our country.
But let's be clear. I mean, you think Brexit is a mistake, don't you?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was a minister implementing Brexit, but what we promised in our manifesto is that we promised that we would have a comprehensive free trade agreement that gave us essentially the exact same benefits as we had before.
Okay, but
what is in front of us, if I can finish that, falls far short of that. But if the British public, now that they know that, still want to go ahead, as their servant, we implement it. But where we are is that we have a deal that has no majority in Parliament. So when people say they want to deliver Brexit, they just want to get it done, they make it sound like there is some magical Brexit that somehow Theresa May didn't find. But most of the candidates were in her cabinet, they were part of the negotiations, and this is where we've got to.
So how would you vote in that 3-option referendum that you would like to see? Theresa May's deal, leave with no deal, or remain. How would you vote in that?
I would vote remain, and I would vote, but my vote would be one out of the.
So you do think that Brexit, at least under...
Yeah, but my vote would be one out of millions of votes, so that's not the important thing. And if I was Prime Minister, I wouldn't actively campaign for that. I think...
But isn't the problem with Theresa, hasn't the problem with Theresa May always been that there have been those who have been able to wave around the Remain card at any point that she does something that they disagree with? She's a Remainer, and therefore everything that she did from that point on was tainted with that view.
I think what we should remember is, leave or remain, we all care about our country. We all want the best for our country. And the idea that the only people who can serve the country's best interests at this critical time in our history depends on which box they ticked in June 2016, I think is absurd. I care deeply about this country. I want the best for this country. I want the best for my children. But the truth is, the current plan is not working. And it's not what we want. It's not what we like. It is that the current plan is not working. And by the way, no deal will be an abject failure. In the referendum campaign, people were promised a deal. In our manifesto, people were promised a deal. To pursue no deal with all that it entails, without the public having given us consent that that is what they want, I believe will be a failure.
When you were last on Ridge on Sunday, I mean, you said the following: in many ways, and this is a reference to your local constituency.
I thought you were going to read some of my quotes back to me.
Yeah, well, it always happens. It's because they are your words ultimately.
Yeah, sure.
In many ways, I'm probably a step in modernisation too far from them. I think some of them, this particular group, have Tory heads and UKIP hearts. That step in modernisation too far that you refer to, that's a comment referring to your ethnicity, isn't it?
No, not at all. Actually, one of the key strands of my campaign is going to be rediscovering conservatism. And the reason why I joined the Conservative Party is because the Conservative Party believes in hard work, it believes in aspiration, and believes in giving back. That's what makes me a conservative. And I feel what Brexit has done is somehow it's overridden some of these principles that over centuries has made us the most successful political party in the world, not just in this country. Now, when I said a step in modernization too far, I think it is very easy to assume that when you're talking about some of these ideas in the context of Brexit, that is not really where the party is. But I think that what I'm offering is true conservatism, and true conservatism that has been electorally successful because it's always served the country well.
It just strikes me that given the problems that you've had with your constituency association on a number of occasions, that actually, a better party for you might well be the Liberal Democrats.
Well, it's interesting you should say that. During the course of my political life, I've been mistaken for a Labour MP. Someone would say now, as you say, the Liberal Democrats, but I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Conservative. I think what that tells you is that I'm an asset to the Conservative Party because I can reach parts that maybe others can't reach.
Now, you're not going to tell me who you would vote for if you don't make it past the first round, but I suspect you might tell me who you wouldn't vote for. Boris Johnson, I can't see you throwing your support behind him at any point.
Look, there is a wide range of candidates. We've never had this before. We don't know who's going to make it to the final two. And of course, what a reason why I've entered the race. I mean, I quite like the idea that you've set the expectations around my success as low as possible if I don't make it past the first round. Thank you very much. And we will see when we come to it. But over the next few weeks, along with my colleagues who support me, I'm going to be making the case for how we deliver for this country. And one of the things I'm most concerned about in this is any sense that the way forward is to embrace Nigel Farage. Because Nigel Farage wants to break the system. He wants to break the Conservative Party. We've seen him off before. That is what I want to do this time.
But surely all of this, it isn't just some attempt to secure a nice cabinet post as, the leading Remain candidate at the end of this leadership process.
I'm glad you've asked that question. As I said, I resigned my ministerial job. I've made sacrifices for what I believe, and I am not positioning for a cabinet job. For example,
would you turn it down if Dominic Raab, Boris Johnson?
Let's stay away from the people because we don't know who's going to be there. But what I would say is, I would find it very difficult to serve in a Conservative cabinet that was pursuing a no-deal Brexit.
Sam Gyimah, good to see you. Thanks for being with us.